And welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Life and Legacy Show, sponsored by the Sechler Law Firm, where great families make great estate plans. My name is Tim Sechler. I am the owner of the Sechler Law Firm, and we do this show each and every week to give you the information that you need to make good estate planning decisions for yourself and for your family. We are an education-first law firm, which means we like to give a ton of this education out so that you make well-informed decisions. Rather than just winging it with some of these other solutions for estate planning. Now, remember when listening to the show, we are doing education, we're doing entertainment, we are not doing legal advice. You are not my legal client yet, though we'd love to have you. So don't make any legal decisions based on what you hear on this or any other radio show. This is just for your information. So disclaimers aside, here's a couple of things we're going to talk about in this week's show. One, I want to talk to you about if you have someone in your family shipping off to college at the end of this month coming up. Now's the time to do some estate planning because we have to get the work done before they leave. So whether that's your child, whether that's you, whether that's your grandchild, this is not a thing that you want to miss. And so we're going to talk about that. And then a little bit later in the episode, we're going to talk about how to plan with your house. So particularly for my senior and baby boomer clients, they often want to know, what should I do with the house? Should I give it to my kid? Should I put it in a trust? Should I use a will? I want to protect the house from things like taxes and long-term care expenses. And what's the best way to plan for my house? And so we're going to talk about those things in this episode. And I hope you find it all very informative. If you do, and you're interested in moving forward and getting some work done, you can reach out to my law firm anytime. We are in Cranberry Township, though we have a couple of other offices and see people sort of across Western Pennsylvania. You can go to SechlerLawFirm.com. It is spelled Secler lawfirm.com. Or you can give us a call at 724-546-4227. Again, 724-546-4227. And we will help you create the best estate plan for your family and your unique situation. This isn't cookie cutter stuff. Don't rely on the online documents. Don't rely on anybody that tells you all you need is a simple will because you're not rich. That is not in your best interest. And so that's why we have to do all this education. Now, let's talk to the parents of the kids shipping off to college in August. This is an interesting thing that a lot of people overlook because by the time kids move off to college at the age of 18, they are now legal adults in Pennsylvania and every other state. And you are no longer their legal guardian like you were the rest of their life so far. And oftentimes what happens is parents are surprised to find out that when Kitty goes off to college, Kitty's a legal adult, and if Kitty doesn't want to tell you about his or her affairs, or if the college doesn't want to deal with you, if your child calls the college and says, "Don't give this information to my mom or my dad," they may not. And a separate and sort of related issue is, even though your child's 18, they still need your help. I mean, what would happen if God forbid, your child would become injured or disabled or something would happen while they're at college, and now you are not their guardian? Who's making the decisions? Who's making decisions with regard to the lease agreement? Who's making decisions with regard to the finances? And we don't want this to end up in a situation where you lose control of the family loses control of the kids' finances and the kids' ability to make decisions. And so sometimes people do get injured in college, and we want to make sure that we have a plan for how you, as the parent, can continue to assist and help your child. Assuming the child is on board with this, what we need to do is we need to have your child execute a financial power of attorney document that says, my name is Tim. I'm now 18 years old. I would like for my father or my mother or my whomever to continue to be able to assist me. They can deal with the bank. They can deal with the insurance company. They can deal with the landlord. They can deal with whomever I may need assistance for from a legal standpoint. Because if we don't have this document and then the child ends up, let's say the child's in an accident, disabled, the child has some money. Maybe not a ton, they're college kids, but they do have access to some checking accounts. They're probably still on your health insurance plan, or they may have some other thing going on. But you may need to be able to handle some of these affairs on behalf of your child. And if we don't have the document in place, there's no way to do that in a lot of circumstances without you petitioning a court to become their legal guardian. And that is just way too intrusive and way too much of a headache. And so we answer this by having the person execute a document that says, well, it's called a financial power of attorney. You would also do a healthcare power of attorney that says, my mom, my dad can continue to deal with financial and legal affairs on my behalf if I'm not available or if I'm not able to. And now then you can go to the bank and you have access to see what's going on with the checking account. And you have access to see what's going on with the credit cards. And you've got access to those financial instruments to help your kid make good decisions. Because let's face it, most 18-year-olds aren't known for their wisdom and always making good decisions. They will still need your help, but this is the first time in their life we're going to have to put some legal documents in place to make that happen. And so if you got a college kid shipping off this fall, it's still you still got time to have an estate plan done, and they probably should do a will while they're at it. And so we still have time to get that done. If this is something you need to get done, visit us at sechlerlawfirm.com, SECHLER lawfirm.com, or give us a call at 724-546-4227, and we will get you set up and we will get these things executed prior to your kid departing town. And then that way you can sleep well at night knowing that if something happens, we still have control of the situation. Okay, so there's that that piece of this. Now, I want to make a transition because there's been a thing that has popped up in my office in the last 2 weeks about 4 or 5 different times, and we've handled the situation 4 or 5 different ways. And that is, what are the planning options with the house? You know, if you've listened to this show before, you know that I am a big proponent of people protecting their resources from the risk of long-term care expenses. The way I view the world, and I don't know how one would view the world differently, but for middle class, upper middle class Americans in retirement, the biggest financial threat that they have is what happens if I get sick, right? What happens if I end up in the nursing home? What happens if I need in-home care? Nursing homes in Pennsylvania on average are about $180,000 a year, and it's mostly private pay. So here we are, we're retired, we're about to be retired, and I know that there's a 1 in 3 chance that I'm going to have dementia, at least according to the Alzheimer's Association. And so if there's a 1 in 3 chance I'm going to have dementia, and nursing homes cost $180,000 a year, well, if that happens to me, how do I know that my spouse still has a home to live in? And how do I know that we're not going to have to sell the thing to get the money to my kids once I pass away? And the answer is, you really need to think about this, okay? So many times, so many lawyers are out there telling people all you need is a simple will in this scenario. And even worse, people are saying all you should do is give your house to your kids. Listen, I can tell you, as a certified elder law attorney doing this type of work for about 12 years now, it is not that simple. It is not that simple. This long-term care environment that we have for seniors in this country is extremely complex, and there is no one size fits all answer to this. And so for all the people out here who have been told maybe I should put my house in my kid's name, I am here to tell you, you should get proper legal advice before doing that. And I'd be happy to give you my opinion on it, because in the last 2 weeks, I've seen 5 different situations where the right answer was different. And we're going to go through those just to like provide you with something that I think is interesting and provide you some fodder to think about, because I want to encourage you to come to one of our upcoming estate planning workshops where you can ask us all the questions you want to ask us about how this stuff works. And you can learn about these estate planning tools that we use to help people protect their money, protect their home from long-term care expenses. And you can sign up for the workshop by going to sechlerlawfirm.com, SECHLER lawfirm.com. Go to the workshops tab and you can register. Now, we have these in-house. We're doing them in our office. We do them in some libraries. We also have some virtual workshops coming up. So if you're of the variety that would prefer to sit and watch it on the screen, we have a couple of virtual workshops coming up, and so you ought to take us up on that. Okay, so let's move into this. So the idea, generally speaking, is if I end up in a nursing home, there is some risk that we may end up losing the house to this care expense. And it happens to people. It doesn't happen to all people, but it does happen. And so one of the things that people will come to my workshop, or people will come to the office and meet one of the lawyers, and say is, I want to put the house in my kid's name. When my dad got old, he put the house in my name and it worked out. And so I'd like to do the same thing. Now, I always take a pause at that point and I think to myself, well, we're not really sure that it worked out because it might have been a massive tax issue. But the other thing is, probably you got lucky because Medicaid has this 5-year look back period business, right? And if you end up giving an asset away to your child and then needing the nursing home in the next 5 years, it could be problematic if you don't have a plan for that. But I want to share a sort of a nightmare scenario that we're involved in right now where this transfer of the house to the kids was not the right idea. And that was, it's been more than 10 years ago. A parent gave two children who were still living in the house. There were adult children living in the house. So the parents gave the two children an interest in the house. Okay. So now two kids own the house. They got past the 5-year clock. That could have been problematic, but for this family, it wasn't. So now the house is free from mom and dad's nursing home. But here's the issue. One of the sisters lives in the house. One of the sisters does not live in the house. The sister who lives in the house needs to go to the nursing home. And there's an informal family arrangement that these two siblings are to share the money from the house if it ever sells with their other siblings. There are 4 siblings in this scenario. So mom and dad give the house to 2 siblings, one of whom lives there, but there's a total of 4 siblings. And they have an informal understanding that if that house ever sells, that these 2 sisters are to share those sales proceeds with their brothers. Now, here's the problem. There's lots of problems. I mean, you could foresee problems in this. This is what we call kitchen table planning. The family sits around the kitchen table one weekend and they figure out how they're going to beat the government in their own game, and they make some decision like giving the house to their kids, which is an utter mistake in a lot of situations. But here we are in a situation where, and usually it's a mistake because the kids don't play nice. There's an informal understanding we're going to split the money between 4 kids, but my brother ticked me off last year and I'm not sharing this money with him, so there's that issue. But the issue in this is one of the sisters is in the nursing home. Okay, so let's just make up some numbers. Let's say it was a $200,000 home. There's 4 kids, and dad's desire was that if the house ever sold, all 4 of the kids would each take $50,000. Okay, well, here's the problem with that. If we sold the house now, half of those proceeds belong to the sister in the nursing home. Half of those proceeds end up with the sister who is healthy, and she can do whatever she wants with that money. But half the money ends up with the sister who is in a nursing home, and she cannot give half of that money to her siblings. That money is going to be gone, all because, they just lost $50,000 or $60,000. That had they done better planning, we could have had a better answer for that scenario. And so that's a situation where, we should just put the house in the kid's name. Another issue with putting the house in the kid's name is control. If I put my house in my kid's name and I'm still alive and I'm still living, what happens if my child goes through a divorce? My daughter now owns my house. I'm living in it, but now she's subject to a divorce. What's going to happen with this house? Or what happens if my daughter dies before me? What does her will say? Where's the house going if she passes before me? Is it going to my former son-in-law? What happens when he remarries? What are the odds I'm going to continue to live in this house for the rest of my life? You could go on and on with these things. So as you can tell, I'm really not a big fan of the kitchen table planning. It typically results in more problems than it results in solutions. And so be careful with it. Now, here's a couple other scenarios. In planning ahead for the nursing home, when we get to a situation where the family is sort of at need, meaning the person is going into the nursing home, the house isn't always exempt. So I met with a family recently where there were 2 siblings that owned a primary residence together, and they both lived there. And one sibling's going to the nursing home. So in this scenario, 2 siblings own a house together. One sibling is in a nursing home or about to be in a nursing home. And she's concerned that they're going to lose the house. And she, if I go to the nursing home and my sister still lives in this house, what's going to happen with the house? And the answer in that is Medicaid actually has a carve out for this. If there are siblings who jointly own the property and they both live there for at least 1 year prior to a nursing home admission, the sick sibling can give their interest in the house to the healthy sibling. Right. So in that scenario, I mean, here's a situation which is very remote, right? I mean, most seniors aren't living with their siblings, but it does occur, where we shouldn't do anything with the house, even though we're anticipating a potential future nursing home in the short term. We're not going to do anything with the house because when the sick sister goes into the nursing home, we have the opportunity to transfer the house to the other sibling, and we just protected the house. There's another carve out if you happen to have disabled children. So this happens pretty frequently. Really, is we have a situation where there's a senior about to go to a nursing home, and they happen to have a child who is disabled. Could be a work injury, could be any type of disability, really, but they're on disability, and you are allowed to transfer assets to disabled adult children, right? You're allowed to transfer the home to the adult disabled child. And so that would be a scenario where, knowing that we have that as a planning opportunity, we're not going to do anything with the house. We need to leave it where it is. But in a lot of families, they would just go ahead and give that to the kids because we need to protect it from the nursing home. And in this scenario, there's no reason we're not giving up control of the house, because we know that if we get sick and this child is still on disability benefits, we can transfer the house and it's safe, right? So there's a scenario where sometimes best plan is to not change anything. Right? There's also an exception that allows us to transfer the house to um, caregiver children. So let's say that you're in a family where you have a senior parent who is about to potentially go to a nursing home, and the daughter lives there, and the daughter is taking care of mom and dad. And the only reason that mom and dad haven't had to go to the nursing home recently is because the daughter is in there taking care of dad. Well, in that scenario, we can transfer the house to the adult disabled child. Now, the timing on this is all very difficult. I don't want you to do any of these things without reaching out to us and getting some legal advice on whether it's the right idea. But I'm just trying to explain to you how crazy this system is. You know, I was in a nursing home teaching some Medicaid to nursing home staff the other day, and um, was trying to explain to them that here's some ways that you can help some of your residents and you can save some money for them and do some different things. And we got into a discussion just about how crazy it is that my entire profession exists. Here we are living in the greatest country, in the greatest time in the history of the planet, and we have seniors going broke in nursing homes. And to me, it just seems like we're failing. It just seems like we're failing. And you shouldn't need a law firm like ours to be able to protect your net worth, your life savings from issues like taxes and nursing homes. Unfortunately, though, you do. The system is convoluted. The system is complicated. The cards are stacked against you. And if you end up getting sick, which most of us will, this is not, it's most of us. It's not a getting struck by lightning situation. Most of us are going to need some form of long-term care. Why wouldn't I then protect my house from long-term care expenses? And I can tell you, for most families, the best way to do it, if you really want to know how is it that I can make sure that if I end up getting sick later, that my family, my spouse still has a house to live in. Ultimately, the value of that house will be able to be transferred to my children. How can we make sure that we're going to live in that reality rather than the reality where we lose it all? And one of the things we talk about and teach you in our workshop is how you can use certain type of trust that we here at Sechler Law Firm called an asset protection trust. But you can use a trust to hold the ownership of the asset, and you can continue to sleep in the house every night. The house could still be sold later. There's still lots of things that can occur. You can still maintain control, but that house is now, we still have the 5-year look back period, but that house is going to be protected from the nursing home. And these things in a lot of families are just absolute slam dunks, right? If we don't have one of these other exceptions that I talked about, disabled children, live-in siblings, caregiver children, then I feel very strongly on the point that it's a good idea to put a home into an asset protection trust if you are concerned about long-term care expenses. What would happen if I get sick? How do I make sure that we protect the value of this house? Asset protection trusts are built for exactly that purpose. And we can put other assets in there too. We put investments in there, we put other things in there. But the house seems to be the thing that you could put into the trust. You can continue to sleep there. It doesn't really impact your quality of life for the rest of your life. Um, but we've now protected that house and the value of that house, the home equity, from the potential nursing home. And this is what we talk about in our workshop. So I talk on the radio show all the time about these workshops. I want you to come to the workshops because they are valuable. Yes, we hope that you eventually decide to work with our law firm. But if you don't, you will at least get some valuable information out of this. And in the workshop, we talk about wills versus trust. We talk about revocable trust versus irrevocable trusts. We talk about death taxes. We talk about long-term care and how to get the government to pay for the nursing home. We talk about all these issues, which are the issues that retirees and seniors need to be thinking about from a legal standpoint. I'm going to teach you all of it. You come, you ask me whatever questions you want to ask, and we just try to get you the information that you need to make good decisions. And then if you like, because you attend the workshop, we offer you a free consultation. So you can come in and speak with one of our folks about your particular family situation. We can sort of analyze the situation and tell you, well, here's option one, here's option two, here's option three. We really think that in your family situation, based on your goals, here's the right way to go. But every family is different. And, we just are an education first law firm, and we just try to provide lots and lots and lots of information for you so that you make well-informed decisions. So come to one of the workshops. You can find out all about them at sechlerlawfirm.com, Sechler lawfirm.com, or you give us a call at 724-546-4227. Again, 724-546-4227. And while you go to the website, when you go to the website, check out all the resources that we have on there. I think I have over 100 articles on there at this point that I've written just on a lot of these topics. We've recorded a bunch of videos that we're uploading constantly to the website. It is my goal for the website is for it to continue to grow as an educational resource when it comes to all things estate planning and elder law. My philosophy is if I keep putting helpful information out there, then that will help people make good decisions and in turn will help us grow our law firm, which is one of our goals, right? So sechlerlawfirm.com, Sechler lawfirm.com. And I want you to consider, as you think about this, and how you want to align your affairs. If you've been told by some attorney in the past that all you need is a simple will, and what they're really saying is you are not rich, so all you need is a simple will because you don't have big tax concerns. It may be true that you don't have big tax concerns, but I would disagree with the point that all you need is a simple will, because even though we may not be concerned about big tax issues, we should all be concerned about big long-term care issues. If Pennsylvania is telling us that the nursing home costs $180,000 a year, which is what they're telling us, and since the Alzheimer's Association is telling us that 1 in 3 seniors will have dementia, and other statistics will tell you 2/3 of us are going to need some form of long-term care. You put these pieces of information together: 180 grand a year, 1 in 3 risk of dementia. Yeah, it's an issue that we need to be planning for. And so don't buy the line if you've been fed the line that says all you need is a simple will if you're not rich. I don't buy it. And if your philosophy lines up similar to mine, it's probably time that we talk. It's probably time that you come to one of the upcoming workshops um, and learn all about your other options. And these workshops do fill up. Sometimes we have to run waiting lists on them. So if you're interested, come on in and get it done. You can find out all about them at sechlerlawfirm.com. Excuse me. And if you do have someone who's currently in a nursing home, if you have someone who's currently battling this long-term care issue, like as a present risk, give us a call. We're just going to offer you a free consultation. We can skip the workshop because I'm not going to make you go to a workshop if you're paying $450 a day in a nursing home. We're not going to make you wait for a workshop. We're going to get you in as soon as possible and help you fix that issue. So you can get that appointment by calling us at 724-546-4227. I hope you found this week's episode helpful. I hope you found it educational. But remember, don't make legal or financial decisions based on a radio show. If you'd like some help, check us out at SechlerLawFirm.com, SECHLER lawfirm.com. We'd love to help you. Thanks for listening.